We have a bunch of Project A leaks from people who have actually played the game, and a lot of it's actually in a different language, and there's tons of information. So in this video, I'm going to be giving you the top 10 big takeaways from all this Project A information. If you want to get caught up with the news really quickly, smash that like button, and let's just jump right into it, shall we? So the thing that you really need to understand is that abilities are things that you actually buy. They're not things that you inherently have. You buy them in the same way that you would buy flashbangs, kind of like in CSGO, and you can choose not to buy them certain rounds and you won't have them, or you could choose to buy multiple types of abilities and you would have multiple ones in a given round. Now, typically these abilities are tactical and non-lethal. A good example of this is this green smoke wall. It sets up similar to a May wall where you see lines on the ground and you can rise up a smoke wall that blocks enemy LOS and you can cross through without being fired upon, but enemies can cross and shoot through it. In this way, you're not actually killing enemies, you're not actually confirming kills with it, but it can be used strategically in the same way something like a flashbang or smoke grenades are. The best comparison I've seen is that a lot of these abilities are similar to flash and smoke grenades, just like they are in CS, but they have a lot of different nuances. Like, they do the same thing, they fill that same role where they have certain situations or uses for each and every one of them, but there's going to be a lot of different dynamic ones, and learning how to master them is going to be a big part of this game. Now, moving on to the second biggest takeaway, we need to really talk about the ultimates. Yes, there are ultimates in this game, but they're not quite similar to Overwatch ultimates. They share some similarities, but let me really break down the differences. So the first thing that you need to understand about ultimates is they can be used about 2 to 3 times in a match on average. That's something that's really important because they're not going to be used an insane amount. They're not going to be a big part of the game, but they could have an impact in the game because everyone in the whole game is going to be able to use them 2 to 3 times. So let's say you and your teammates could stack them or something like that, and maybe they could have a powerful impact. Now, alone, they're definitely stronger than regular abilities, but they're not always game ending. So don't think of something like a Dragon Blade with Genji. They're much more nuanced than that. Something more like a Pulse Bomb would be more accurate. So we're going to show some footage. The Shuriken ultimate with the Shuriken girl and the Resurrect. Both of these abilities are ultimates. So they are definitely powerful and they definitely have their uses, but they're not going to be game winning outright. They're not going to be something that you could just 1v6 the enemy. If you combine it with gunplay and tactics, maybe you could get an extra kill or extra value out of it, but it's not going to hard carry you through everything. And that's something that's really important about these ultimates. And lastly, a lot of them are skill based. So the res is not skill based, but there's going to be a lot of different ultimates where mastery of the ultimate is going to be a big factor involved. And it's not going to just be like a oops, I win button, you know. It's not going to be something like you press it and then you all of a sudden kill 2 people, like I said before. But it's really important, so fret not, people that didn't really want ultimates. I know personally I didn't want to see that many ultimates, powerful ultimates, things like that, but it doesn't look like they're going to be overwhelmingly powerful. I know some of you are mad about the Resurrect thing, but we'll see if that even stays in the game. So moving on to takeaway 3, this is game mechanics. So this is a number of things that you really should understand about the game. Just really quick bullet points I'm going to break down. So yes, you could shoot through walls. Certain walls you could shoot through, unlike Overwatch where everything's like stationary, but similar to CS, how you can shoot through walls. You can't throw grenades straight up, but you can throw them curved to the left and right. So that's really interesting. So one, there are things like grenades, but the thing that's interesting about that is you could kind of be more nuanced with how you throw your grenades, which is kind of cool. Aim punch, slow down, things like that exist. So if you take fire, you're going to mess up your crosshair and you're going to get slowed down when you get shot at. These are things that are important. This really resembles CS. In fact, the game itself is going to be a lot similar to CS more than anything. It's almost like CS, but there's some abilities that kind of switch up the dynamic of the game, make the game ever changing and kind of hard to predict, and there's a lot of different nuances to the game. It's actually not going to be that similar to Overwatch. It's going to be far more similar to CS. That's one big takeaway that I'll talk about later, but another thing before we move on from gameplay mechanics is that friendly fire exists, and if you want to shoot your buddy in the back of the head, go for it. It's going to be enabled in this game. Now, moving on to takeaway number 4, this is about gunplay mechanics. So headshots generally kill in 1 shot, but there will be things similar to Kevlar and helmet that can reduce damage. So if you don't play CS and you don't know what that is, Kevlar and helmet can help you survive more headshots, the helmet specifically, or it can help you, you know, take more damage overall, be more susceptible to certain types of damage. And there are going to be things similar to that. The full information of that is not leaked, so we don't know that for sure. Now, spray patterns are kind of up in the air because this has been coming from multiple different sources, and some people say that there are spray patterns to an extent, and some people say there's no spray patterns, but they're afraid to talk about it. So maybe they're either experimenting on this and they don't want it leaked out yet, or there's no like one or the other. Maybe it's less spray patterns in CS. We're not quite sure about this one. I don't want to really report on anything that I don't know for sure. Now, I'm not going to get everything in this video 100% correct, but I'll definitely keep it updated in the comments down below if any of this information gets outdated or turns out to be incorrect, because this is a translation from a translation, so bear with me if it's not 100%, but most of it is going to be factual. Now, moving on to more gunplay mechanics, jumping and moving affects aim. So this is going to be par for the course with people who play CS. It's going to be a little bit jarring for people that play Overwatch and have never played CS, because I know jumping and moving and shooting is kind of goes with the territory. But in this game, if you jump and move and stuff like that, it's going to really affect your aim. So you're probably going to have to place your body far more, you know, not move as much if you want to really take these high accuracy shots. Now, the last thing that I need to go over about the gunplay is there's no bullet drop. Everything's a hit scan. Now, abilities are going to be projectile, of course. Things that arc, of course, are going to have projectile nature. But all the base weapons are going to be hit scan, which is really good for the vast majority of players. No one wanted a projectile weapon is what I read in all the comments and pretty much all the suggestions. People just wanted that hit scan accuracy 100% of the time, which I really understand. I mean, I can't tell you how frustrating it is to get no regs in Overwatch, which you get all the time on things like Hanzo. And you're not really going to have to deal with that in this game. I don't know how good it's going to be with some of the projectile ultimates and some of the projectile abilities, just like the shuriken flying ultimate. I don't know how much that's going to hit all the time, but we'll have to wait and see. But for now, all the primary weapons are going to be hit scan, which is really exciting for a lot of people. Now, moving on to takeaway number 5, there's going to be an economy system. So like I said, you're going to be able to buy guns and abilities. So sometimes there will be rounds where you want to save and you're going to save as a team, and then you're going to want to buy abilities and guns in sync. So think about it just like you would buy grenades in CS. Sometimes you buy grenades, sometimes you don't. Sometimes if you're going to make a play, you'll buy these grenades. It's the same way for abilities, because essentially a lot of these abilities are just setting up to make plays, setting up to get kills. You know, you want to wall off this spot, you want to icicle this spot. There's a lot of different things that you could set up to get kills, and there's going to be some abilities where you're not even going to want to buy it around. There's going to be save rounds and things like that. And then the last thing about the economy system is you could buy weapons for your teammates just the same way you could do in CS. If you want to buy your friend, you know, that amazing gun because he keeps buying the most expensive abilities and guns in the game and he keeps dying right off the bat, you can buy weapons for him because you're the best of friends with this guy, you know, because he's a feeder and you're the guy that always carries him. Now moving on to takeaway number 6, there's gonna be a lot of custom options in this game. So you're gonna be able to edit your settings in detail, which is something that's cool. I know a lot of people are really curious about that. I don't know exactly what that means. I just know that according to these XCS pros or these CS pros, you're gonna be able to edit your settings in detail, and if they think you can, then it's probably gonna be fine for the vast majority of us. I mean, it's gonna be good enough most likely, and they'll probably add anything else that we want. And there's also gonna be an in-depth crosshair editor in the game, just like some of the mods with CS and the ability to edit your crosshair to like this insane detail, this insane capacity. That's most likely going to be included in the game automatically, which is really exciting. You want to get that perfect crosshair just for you. They think it's good enough, so it's probably going to be pretty in-depth. Now, moving on to takeaway number 7, this is talking about classes. So classes are actually going to be pretty fundamentally different, which is kind of interesting. It's not going to just feel like a skin over. Apparently, there's going to be like abilities that you can buy for each and every class, and they're going to really fundamentally change how you play. There's no healer, there's no tank like something like Overwatch or something like MOBAs or different things like that. But there are going to be defensive classes, aggressive classes, and more supportive roles. So there's going to be different characters that are better at doing different things, different characters that are better at holding positions or taking positions or supporting allies, and they're going to have abilities to match that type of playstyle. So if you really have a playstyle that you like, that's going to probably be what you drift to, and there's going to be probably characters that work really well together, and I'm guessing a meta is going to form around that. So that's going to be really interesting to see. It's going to be way different than something like CS, where the meta is kind of a little bit stagnant. I mean, there's not all this different things to play around. The meta is fundamentally different. This meta is going to be something way more like something like in Rainbow Six Siege or something like in Overwatch, where there's probably going to be a set of characters that work really well together, that combo really well together, that have abilities that work well together. So that's something that's really interesting going forward. Now, moving on to takeaway number 8 is downside. So this is some of the downsides that people have stated in the past. So something that one pro stated is that sometimes the screen gets covered with all these abilities. All these abilities are going off and it's like a clusterfuck on the screen, which this happens in Overwatch a lot. I mean, in some metas in particular, you know, Graviton, Coalescence, things like that. It doesn't really happen in CS in the same way, but I'm guessing that the screen getting cluttered is something that they could probably work on. So we don't know if this thing's going to be permanent. You could always turn down the graphic effects, and maybe the screen getting cluttered is something that doesn't happen all that often. It's just a little overemphasized because people don't really know how to play, and the fights are really fraggy right now. We don't know that for sure, but that's just a complaint that I've seen. That's just a complaint that some of them have talked about. Another thing that they've talked about is there's no left-handed view model, which is really annoying for some players, but they gave that feedback to Riot, and Riot is already working on it, so we'll probably see a left-handed view model going forward. And so that's really just the takeaway from here is no matter what people like or don't like about the game is not even in beta yet, so there could be a lot of things that are changed, so we don't know if things are actually concrete right now. So don't think that just because the game is a certain way, it's going to stay that certain way. Things might change. Now, moving on to takeaway number 9, and this is important quality of life things that you should really know. First off, 128 tick rate servers. So CSGO is only 64. This is going to be double as much, and it really allows the game to feel really crisp. A lot of these CSGO players really loved the game. They're really excited about it. They're really excited about the tick rate, and I'm sure you will be too if you're really into that high competitive side of the game. There's going to be a trading room already included. That's something that's really cool. You know, if you just want to practice trading room, hopefully that's pretty par for the course, but I thought I would include it here. And then lastly, the game is going to be 100% free to play, no pay to win, 100%. You're not going to have to unlock weapons to play with them like you do in something like Call of Duty, and you're not going to have to pay for certain type of perks or anything like that. Everything's going to be available to you, and on top of that, most of the pay stuff is going to be cosmetic based, so you don't have to be afraid of that. Riot going to go back to their classic model, which we all love. And then lastly, let's talk about the takeaways, and this is probably the most important. So first off, this game is going to be vastly similar to something like Counter-Strike. It's not going to be that similar to something like Overwatch, something like Apex Legends, things like that. It really is similar to Counter-Strike if you think about all the things that are in Counter-Strike, but instead of grenades, there's going to be different classes and all these different abilities. That adds a completely new layer to the game. It's not going to be just like Counter-Strike, because if you add all these abilities, there's all these new things that you got to play around. The game can change dynamically with a couple of hero releases and things like that, a couple of power tweaks, and all of a sudden the game is fundamentally different than it was a couple months ago, which means this game could be something that is played for the long term. I mean, think about how much you could change Counter-Strike. You really can't change it all that much from release to now, and some people like that, but some people might not. And the thing about this game is it has a potential to change indefinitely, which is really cool for the longevity of the game. But unlike something like Overwatch, there'll never be this emphasis on non-mechanical play. No matter what the meta is looking like, it will always be centered around mechanical gunplay, which is something that everyone should be excited about, because that's probably the worst thing that's happened to Overwatch, is where tanks and supports kind of overpower the aspect of DPS, and a lot of these non-mechanically demanding heroes and demanding play styles really take center point, and it's not really that fun to play. People that are really into mechanical skill and outplaying your opponents are not really into that aspect of Overwatch, which is something you'll almost never see in Project A, which is really exciting. So what I mean by this is Counter-Strike players are probably going to be better off right at the gate, but Overwatch players are probably going to be a little bit better prepared for the vast different amount of abilities. And that's something that a lot of different CSGO players cited, is that the characters are really distinct. Like MOBAs, you'll probably need to main a few, and they were having a hard time getting used to each and every character's abilities. Now, whether or not this is something to do with the fact that the abilities are really hard to grasp and each character is distinct enough to where it's really hard, or maybe these Counter-Strike players aren't really used to dynamic abilities and how they interact with other players, as opposed to an Overwatch player who's really used to that. So we'll see where the players actually fall on this, but I'm guessing that CSGO players are going to be vastly better prepared than Overwatch players in general. But for hit scan Overwatch players that are at the highest ranks, I'm sure you're going to transition just fine. And lastly, what I'm sure you're all interested in is we're going to get a big information drop in March 2nd. So that's something that's really important, because I've heard from multiple sources that we're going to get a lot of different details about the game, and there might even be a beta announcement, which is really cool. We might know exactly when the beta is going to come out. The game is honestly fully functional according to a lot of these players, that it's not perfect, of course, and they want to keep tuning the game, but it's good enough for people to play. It's good enough to be released as a beta right now, so we could be seeing the beta incredibly soon, which is really exciting. And as new information comes up, I'll definitely be updating you on this channel, and if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. I'll try to answer each and every question you ask, and if any of this information is incorrect, please let me know, because like I said, this is a translation from a translation. It's not going to be perfect, and if any information needs to be changed or needs to be altered, I'll leave it in the comment section down below. I'll let you know any new information we come out or anything's clarifying some of the stuff I say in this video. Anyways, I hope this breakdown has been helpful for you. If this helped you understand kind of what's going on behind the scenes of Project A, smash that like button, subscribe. I'm going to be doing a lot more like this, and in the future I'm going to be doing in-depth VOD reviews and breakdowns, plus tutorials on everything you need to know about Project A. That's all I have for you today. I'm Coach Mills, and until next time.